will you consider this? You come to this place, this Peoria, Central Illinois area, and you become a long-timer. And Charles Bobbitt is not only a long-timer, but you're a local historian as well. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you.
And you came from Memphis, Tennessee.
1981 I arrived here, and I was never so shocked. I got off the plane, drove down to our plant, which was right over here. Signs. If you're the last person to leave Peoria, turn out the lights.
Okay, so that was what year?
1981.
1981.
And I was just flabbergasted. I thought, what does all this mean? Have we gone to the wrong place? Nope, we hadn't.
So you came here specifically to work?
SEAL Test brought me here, which is Craft Dairy Group.
Okay.
And I was a credit manager between Chicago and New Orleans.
Oh,
so I got to travel a lot.
I guess, yeah, that's a big area to cover.
And we went west for Breyer's ice cream, and we were so excited about it. Never we would know that we didn't have maybe 5 years left. That plant's old. And I think it's what do they call that thing up there now?
On North University, or right next door? It's
right
a restaurant.
Behind you.
Right, a Time restaurant. Yeah, it's awesome. But you're awesome too. So, so you grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and you worked there for SEAL Test? All right.
And I was president of the Historical Society when I left.
There.
Now, Tennessee has 3 grand divisions, East, West, and Middle.
Okay.
Well, we were West Tennessee Historical Society. I was president 10 years. I was president 26 of a historical society.
At age 26, yeah.
And I was 36, I resigned, and I said, I'm going to Peoria. And they said, why do you want to go to Peoria for? I said, there's a job up there. I'd had an aunt that worked here during the war years at Block and Cool, and she often spoke about Peoria. And I never dreamed the day would come when I would have the opportunity to come here. But then I saw those signs, I thought, uh-oh. And it wasn't the case. Because I was right in the middle of this area right here, post office, the plant, gave me a chance to walk to the PNC Bank, which is now...
It's now the PNC Bank, but...
And I was able to walk to that. I was able to walk around the neighborhood. I really just... The charm of it, it's just really a lot of charm to this downtown.
And so you were sold on it. Now, your wife, LaDonna, wasn't exactly thrilled with the weather here. She did not like cold.
No, she did not.
She was a Southern gal.
She's a Kentuckian.
Okay.
We have a retirement home in Mayfield, Kentucky. And the plans were we moved down there, then we moved back.
Okay, that's good. And
we miss it.
So one thing that you have done, well, in your life, you were the president of the Everly Brothers fan club, is that right?
I was vice president.
Vice president, and you had quite a collection.
Oh, I gave 400 albums.
They had that many?
No, I had duplicates and duplicates.
Okay, I was going to say.
When I went with the company business, I said I made them take me by the record shop. I bought all the albums up. And then, of course, people would contact me. Well, do you know about this album? Yes, I do. And then I gave 400 albums. I gave 178 45s and 778s. Had it all.
All right.
And I had a lot of it autographed.
And so had you met them? I mean, being vice president of the fan club?
I brought my picture with them.
Okay.
I had taken in 1987. The 2 things I fell in love with when I was 12. I went downtown Memphis. My dad took me and said, now, son, Danny Thomas is coming to town. Well, who's he? Well, you go downtown, we want you to meet him. There was a spade of dirt. And I walked up to him and I said, Mr. Thomas, what you do with these buildings around here? We'll tear them down. I was born in these buildings. He tore them down. And
but look what they built.
it's just a monument to what man can do with medicine.
Yeah. So then you met the Everly brothers in downtown Memphis also, or where?
No, they're Kentucky boys.
Oh, they're Kentucky. Okay, see.
Because I was never so disappointed in my life when I met them.
Why is that?
Short guys.
Oh.
I was thinking it'd be John Wayne.
Okay.
And no, they're 5'7".
Well,
I thought, good gosh, all these years you've been my heroes?
they
5'7"?
made great music, though. Wake up, little Susie. All right. So let's get to you and then your wife, LaDonna. You were sold on Peoria and its charm. So you started buying some old properties.
Well, the reason that came about, there was no histories. Old stuff, nothing new. For some reason, people just didn't pursue it. I came here, the Historical Society maintains 2 beautiful houses. Mm-hmm. Well, they emphasized the real estate. And in Tennessee, we emphasized the history. Mm-hmm. I had no way to get any history, so I collected the postcards.
All right, that's where you started.
This one, right there.
Okay, this is the first one.
Yeah.
Okay,
I got that postcard.
All right.
I thought, well, this is nice. So I started collecting postcards. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, I had a whole pile of postcards. But I got another whole pile of them. Today, I think I have about 1,500. And
how did they tell the story?
Everyone. Because when I was writing those books, I asked people help. And they would say, well, I don't really remember, except when I put it in print. Then it all comes out of the book.
Well, so you started collecting them, and where were you finding these postcards? At garage sales, just in people's...
eBay.
On eBay?
Oh, yes.
Specifically, you put in Peoria historical postcards?
And it's, there was always, then there was, I bought a lot of them on eBay, and then I bought, and I went to different shows and things like that. But it got to the point that I had so many, I had to stop and think, well, do I have this one already?
So how did you catalog them so that you knew if you had doubles?
I put them under names, Glen Oak, and I put under downtown, that kind of thing. I got them separated. Because then there's the disasters on the river, mm-hmm. the flooding and things like that. I put that under another one. I still I'll mess them up. I forget about them. I thought, well, where did I put that postcard?
Okay. And then LaDonna, she begrudgingly helped you write the books, but very begrudgingly because you were spending a lot of money on these old postcards.
She let me know it.
Okay.
I was telling you earlier, she, I think it was this postcard here.
This one?
That's in front of the PNC Bank.
All right.
Elephants are on their way to Emmanuel High School. Because how do you get elephants to the fairground? You walk them.
Oh, wow. So,
A parade.
and that's a lot of elephants.
That particular card I just fell in love with. So when I bought it, and I came home and she said, I could have my hair done 3 times what that postcard cost.
She was a very practical woman. Well, she was an accountant, wasn't she? Or?
Yes, she was.
Uh-huh.
She was, she started out with, she got here in 91 and she got a job immediately with Bergner, the old, what was that?
Carson Perry Scott or Bergner's?
The old department store we had here.
Yeah, Bergner's.
Bergner's, just right.
Right.
And then she, I see she's a unique lady. She's a Southern Baptist, worked for a Jewish firm, and went to a Catholic school.
You know what? Well-rounded, very ecumenical.
So she went to work there. She went to Hopedale Medical Complex. She got tired of driving out there. She went to work for Bard Optical.
All right.
And
kind of a full circle life. All right. So, okay, so tell me, what was one of the most interesting, other than the elephant parade, which is great. Now, when the circus came to town years and years and years ago, I got to ride on an elephant. That little hair on their back is not very soft. It's kind of wiry. So that was a very interesting story. But how about some of the other postcards? What interesting stories did you uncover?
Some postcards. Excuse me. I borrowed some postcards to go in there.
Okay. You borrowed them from whom? From the Historical Society, or?
No, a gentleman got it, wouldn't loan it. He'd only loan it to me.
Oh, okay.
I said, "Is this really the man?" Charles Manson.
Okay. All right. Now tell me about that, because you've owned several properties, and he lived in one of the properties that you had bought years later.
Charles Manson, and he talked about being his first arrest, and he was not born here. He was raised here, and when he was down there at that Innovation Center on Main Street, and they caught him breaking in, and then when he escaped, he got in the wrong car, squad car.
Not very bright, but it's one of those things. Okay.
And he just, that's one that I got a lot of criticism about putting him in there. They said, "Why'd you do that for?" I said, "Because nobody knows that."
It's part of the history. Yeah. You can't
people
escape
don't know
it.
these things. And for instance, the Ag Lab, the mass production of penicillin.
Was here.
People don't know that.
Well, it's kind of been lost in history over the years. You know, they just see that building when they pass by and have no idea what goes on there or what has gone on there. So you wrote those two with the postcards, and then you were featured in another book, you and LaDonna both, the Legendary
And
Locals.
this is the Bobbitt here.
Yeah.
He thinks he's Rod Stewart.
And that,
We're a legendary local in there.
yes, I know that. And that kind of tells your story of why you came here and sort of why you stayed. But you've also done some other books too, very interesting. It Didn't Play in Peoria is a good one. And you have Charles Lindbergh on the front of it. Why?
Because he's the one that came here and pleaded for the money to build his airplane. And we said no. And the banker said no. Well, the reason they said no is because he crashed 3 times. You crashed 3 times in Peoria, and you want to fly across the Atlantic? So he went to St. Louis and became the Spirit of St. Louis. So the Spirit could have been the other way around.
Could have been the Spirit of Peoria. Oh,
And he, one time, now, people don't realize another fact. Out on 91, that movie house, what do they call it now?
oh, the theaters at Grand Prairie?
That's on the site of the second airport.
Oh,
This is where Charles Lindbergh landed.
he landed there to
Right there.
deliver the mail there.
So every time you drive by there, you can, because I got a picture showing the hangars that today is Dick's.
Oh, sporting goods?
That's the old hangars
Okay.
there.
It even kind of is shaped like an old.
No, they tore it down, and then the second airport closed pretty quickly, and they moved out to Bartonville.
All right. Okay.
And Peoria had 3 airports, and but the most interesting one of all is if you go out, again, trivia on the side, if you go out Knoxville, and you get to that real estate company, Maloof. It has that was an airplane production company producing planes in Peoria. The Depression killed it.
Okay. Oh, so that was even post World War I.
That's right.
Okay.
And that building is very old. It's been used for a lot of things. And but this kind of stuff is just
It's
all over
lost.
town.
Yeah, it's lost. So what else didn't play in Peoria? Let's see here. What else was interesting? Oh, well, we used to have a baseball team here, yeah. And then,
There's the Charles Manson.
oh, okay. Charles Manson postcard mentions the serial killer's disdain for Peoria jail food. I guess we weren't feeding the jailbirds well back in the day.
What I found to be so interesting, and if I do another book, which I won't, but I'll do another book, I'll put it in there. The next time you go down War Drive and you see the stadium, the first airplane in Peoria landed there.
In that big flat area where
It
the
was a
stadium.
racetrack, horse racetrack. And they switched us dogs. And then they had the women's baseball team here.
Okay, during World War II.
They came, they were there, and it was prospering. And then the Depression killed it. So the Board of Education bought it. And that hangar there, I mean that
The stadium itself?
that's the original ones. So it's just a lot of history there. Lots of history.
So the track itself was where the
Oh yes.
dogs
oh,
were
yes.
racing?
And I don't think people realize how much history.
No, no idea.
History's everywhere.
It is. It is.
An example. Sheridan Road was named for the road in Chicago.
Right, because originally, and when I ran into you
It was called
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth.
right.
And the man was building those houses. He said, I live on a street called Sheridan Road in Chicago. Let's change this to Sheridan Road. Make it swanky. They did. And then but now, the old entrance to the mall, the original entrance, was
To Northwoods Mall?
what's that school?
On which mall are you talking
The
about?
highway that took you to the original mall. That's where 150 came through.
Oh, okay. 74? So there was a school there. See, I'm not from here, so
It's that
it's
main
lost
street
on
going
me.
up the hill.
Oh, Main Street going up the hill.
That main street going up.
There was a school?
It's there today.
A
the
grade
name?
school? Not Franklin School. Well, Franklin's off of Main Street. I'm confused, but
You come off of Farmington Road and go up there.
oh, okay. Well, Manual High School is down there.
What's that?
Manual? No, not Manual.
No, it's right off of Sheridan Road.
Right off of Sheridan.
Oh, I'm sorry, off of Farmington Road. You go up the hill there. What is that street name? That was the main road to take you to the mall.
Oh, Sterling.
Sterling,
Okay,
Sterling.
Okay. All right.
And and for this, because the mall was put there, and the other side was the, we don't have the main stroke that we have today. It was just a little bitty thing going through there, and the people never dreamed that Sterling would be
4 lanes or 5 lanes?
pushed aside
Yeah, huh.
for that, and a lot of that's gone on in this city.
Right, so that's your next book, is you're writing about how the streets got their names.
Oh yes.
All right, so what other, so somebody had told me years ago, and you were the president of the Peoria Preservation.
Historic Preservation Board.
Right, so you know all those stories too. But how did War Memorial get its name?
What was that?
How did War Memorial Drive get its name?
Well, it was a memorial to the war, but there's no memorial. I couldn't understand that.
Yeah,
You had a memorial, but you don't have a memorial. The street's the memorial.
okay.
And there's several streets put together there, and they cut it right through Main. A lot of that stuff in Peoria, you just got, the most interesting street of all is down on Jefferson at MacArthur. There's a place called Bashan Brake Service right behind this little street called the New Street in EW.
Okay.
I thought, where in the world did you get that?
How original. It was a new street, right?
It was the farmer gave the land for the street and said, now, when you name it, I want to name it.
Okay.
And the team came and he couldn't think of a name. It's called New Street.
Well, that's pretty easy to remember.
And I said, it's just all over this city like that. And
A lot different than Memphis. Did Memphis have meanings to their neighborhoods and the naming of the streets, or?
I did that same thing in Memphis.
All right. Okay.
But those were, because there was a street called Union. It was a union of Memphis and South Memphis. Well, it became the name of a bank, Union Planters Bank.
All right.
Which came to Peoria one time, and that's Regions. And it all ties together.
So you and LaDonna, so you've written books, you're doing all this historical stuff. How many properties did you two buy and restore, renovate in your time?
Like I used to tell you, everybody on Moss Avenue is my neighbor.
Pretty much.
I lived on one end, moved on the other end, moved in the middle. Then I moved to High Street, moved to Sheridan Road, then I moved way out on Knoxville, right there at Ward Drive. It's that, I think the city council lady,
Gail Tedford.
Gail Tedford owns that today, and we didn't like it.
You're too far away from all the real
It just wasn't
history.
the feel.
So tell me about Green Hut Mansion. Now you bought that, it's apartments and everything, but it has some interesting history, like the very first dryer in the city, or elevator, or
Oldest operating elevator in Memphis.
Peoria.
Peoria.
Okay.
Now keep in mind that that building didn't look like that when it was built. They changed it drastically. And the Wolfners on the side of the buildings had a W.
I saw
Like
that.
the people's whiskey, it's Wolfner.
Okay. Big difference.
Because I don't sell the steak, I sell the sizzle.
I like that.
President of the United States was in there, President McKinley. He's got a ballroom in the basement that turned into an apartment. And
Well, that was rare, unusual, because usually they had the ballrooms on the attic floor.
that is very true, like the one on the corner of Main and High Street. Theirs was in the attic. This was in the basement. And then you have
And then the dryer that had a rack or something by the heater in the building.
that dryer. I only found one more like it in the entire country. It was at Biltmore.
Oh.
It's a dryer that was put there in the building was converted in 1916. That's during the war, when you couldn't get I-beams. But the Wolfners got I-beams. I-beams running through that building, holding it together. And their maids, each floor had its own maids. They didn't have any cooking on the floors. All down in the basement, sent up to the dumbwaiter. And that was done away with. And then when, one time there was an article I found on eBay about Peoria.
Okay.
I thought, what is this? Movies? In the ballroom? 802 movies? 1915?
So they had a projector and they had movies in the
And they showed
basement.
movies, and one of the provisions was, if you have children, you cannot bring children there and not being in your hands. So the Wolfners put on this little movie house there, and I didn't know that.
And they were probably they weren't even the talkies yet. They were just silent movies.
So they permitted the maids and porters to lease out that dryers. They took in laundry for the people. Nobody had a Green Hut had everything. Everything.
Right.
Everything. So he got that dryer, and he permitted his people to make some money on the side by drying their clothes.
That's awesome. Okay, well, our time is up, just about. So, when you're in the drugstore or whatever, you can see these on a rack. It's a lot of local authors that have contributed to the history of Peoria, and you're doing a lot of it.
Well, so they sell a lot of them down there at the corner of that Sheridan shops.
Okay, so
And they'll
lit
send
on
down to
fire.
me to autograph.
Okay, all right. Well,
We used to send down there for both of us to autograph.
okay, all right. Well, thanks very much for sharing all this stuff. I learned a little bit extra today, and I'm sure I'll run into you some more and learn a lot more.
Good.
Thanks for being with us, Charles. Thanks. Excuse me. Now you're contagious. Now I'm coughing. Thanks for being here. I hope that you all stay well and healthy.